Peace and buenos dias, everyone. It's Deja here, live from the Osa Peninsula of Costa Rica. I'm here in my hammock outside, and it is story time with Deja. And the story of the day is one I have not told in a while, and I'm very excited to share it. This is the story of how I got kicked out of high school. So a lot of my friends might know this, but other people, of course, would not know or even expect that I got kicked out of high school when I was in the 11th grade. I still went on to finish high school, and I went to college, and I have a master's degree, so I continued schooling. But there was a little moment there where I kind of almost, it felt like I was ruining my life, but I actually made my life a lot better. I actually went to 5 different high schools. I moved a lot growing up because of my mom's job. So I started school at DeKalb School of the Arts in the 9th grade. I loved DSA. Like, I so desired to stay there for my whole high school experience, but that was not what was in the cards for me. So I only went there for the first semester of my 9th grade year. It was a great school though. I'm still friends with a lot of people from that school to this day because there's just a lot of divine beings over there. My cat is just doing a lot right now. This is Mantra. Get it, baby. So anyways, that was my first school. In the second half of 9th grade, we moved to South Carolina. I remember being super emotional about that, about leaving DSA, and I was crying in the hallway, but whatever. I had to go because my mom was moving, and she was like, "You're coming with me." So I went to this charter school, and it was really like white people ratchet because it was like a bunch of trailers, and it was actually on like a community college campus. And because it was like near this college campus, they made us all wear uniforms to like differentiate us and the college students basically. So we wore uniforms like we were at a private school, and you know, they had like a few good teachers in there and some cool programs. So it had some similarities to private school. But yeah, and also the thing about charter schools is people from different districts can go there. So I didn't live that close to the school, but my mom, I guess, researched and found that it was a good one and put me in that school. And I was there for the second half of 9th grade and the first half of 10th grade. So after my first semester of 10th grade, my mom decided to move again to Wisconsin. And this was the worst time of my entire life. I hated it. And not to say there's anything wrong with Wisconsin, but it was not resonant with me. And my mom still lives in Wisconsin to this day. So when we moved then, my mom hasn't left Wisconsin since. She's moved many different houses there, but she actually ended up staying in that state because they have really good benefits for people and children with special needs. And I have 2 brothers with autism, and that's going to be another video, another story time with Deja. But yeah, so she moved there like for logical reasons because they have good benefits for and programs for special needs in Wisconsin. So that's one thing we're going to big up Wisconsin for that. So I went to a public school. I don't even remember the name of it. Oh, it was called Wilmot High School. It's the whitest school I've ever gone to. That's my English teacher coming out, that I've ever gone to. I didn't have any friends. I remember the first day of school, I was so nervous about eating lunch that I just didn't eat lunch. I went and I sat in the bathroom because I was so scared of finding someone to sit with. It felt like I was in the Mean Girls movie. Like I'd never been to like a public school yet at that point. I guess in middle school in middle school I went to all art schools, and elementary school I also went to art school. So, and then I went to that charter school. So this was my first time ever experiencing public school, and it was a white public school. And I just didn't know who to relate to. Not to say any of them were doing anything to make me think they weren't gonna like me, but I just didn't know how to relate to them. It was a completely new frequency. And the only friend I ever really made, well, I made a couple of friends in my theater class, but there was like this half black girl, and I was like, that's close enough. And I just started talking to her. and she let me sit with her, and it was her and like a couple of like Mexican American people, and I was like, this is my crew. Y'all still light-skinned as hell, but at least y'all have a little spice to you, or maybe some level of understanding of what my experience is. And I'm not like that anymore. Now I like will connect with anybody despite race, but there's definitely like a level of resonance that I wasn't feeling with the people there. So I honestly hated that school. I liked my theater class, and I liked my sociology class. That's where I got my spark and interest in sociology, which was my minor in college. So yeah, I went there for the second half of 10th grade year, one semester. Also, I had jumped in the middle of the year, so like everybody already knows each other. It's not like I'm there on the first day of school, you know? But yeah, so then I wanted to return to art school, so I applied for this school that I really wanted to go to, that my brother had gone to for dance, and I had gone to a summer camp with them, and I didn't get in, and I was super devastated. But whatever, it wasn't meant to be. And I applied for another school called Alabama School of Fine Arts, and I was accepted. And I was a theater kid. So I went to ASFA, Alabama School of Fine Arts, and they have a dorm, a small dorm, like it's a 3-story building. And the first floor is like all of the arts. It's the cafeteria and all of the like, they have a math and science section, then all the different arts, like the dance studios, the theater, the art studio, all that stuff is the first floor. Then the second floor is all of our classrooms for like our regular classes. And then the third floor is a dorm, and one half is girls and one half is boys. So yeah, the thing that I loved about that school was just like being so immersed in the arts. And I lived there, so I could just wake up and go downstairs, and I was at school, and I kind of liked that. And I didn't have to wear a uniform or anything like that. But But I had this like, there was this guy, Mr. J, who was in charge of the dorm, and he also did certain stuff with the school. I don't know what he did, but he was a country boy, like, and he honestly just didn't treat black people well, and it was very obvious. And like, we wouldn't even be telling him that. We would just be like, you are so unfair with us. And he'd be like, I'm not racist. And I'm like, nobody even said that. We just said you were being unfair, so you just told on yourself. But he was just, his energy was trash. He made me feel horrible. And I was away from home, you know, for the first time. I had to be there every single day. And it was just too much. No pasa nada. Oh, hay cacao. ¿A dónde?
Hay 4 para que...
Atrás. Oh, aquí. Oh, en mi árbol.
Sí.
Sí, yo había sacado algunas. Voy a sacar más.
Sí, porque se las llevan.
Gracias. My neighbor's just telling me I have some cacao growing that I need to harvest. And I haven't looked at that tree in a while. I can see it from here. I see the yellow. So, yeah, I don't even want to sit here and like talk bad about this person, because maybe he's had his spiritual awakening at this point. But that was something about that school that I really didn't like. He already like, I'm going to give y'all an example. This is a sub-story of Story Time with Deja. I dated a guy at that school, and his name was Wisdom. What a great name, right? I later went on to date a guy whose dog was named Wisdom. Like the next guy I dated after that had a dog named Wisdom. And I just think that's so hilarious. But of course we were dating. We sat next to each other at lunch, and there was one day we were sitting next to each other. He was right next to me, and I put my head on his shoulder, just boom, like he here, and I'm like, boom. Mr. J's ass came up and was like, I see that I'm still mad about it. He came up and he was like, this is not a rap music video, and went off on us like loud as hell in front of everybody in the cafeteria about me having my head on his shoulder. Like, I can say no more about this person. Like, y'all get the picture. He was trash. And not to say I was perfect, you know, but if this person is supposed to be like my protector when I'm living in this place, not just like somebody I deal with at school, but somebody I have to deal with at school and on the weekends and at night, like all the time he's around. Like, he locks us up in the dorm. We got to go to him just to get out of the dorm on the weekend. And we got to sign out and do all this shit. Like, it was just a no. Like, it was fuck no. But the school itself was cool. Everything except for Mr. J, I was cool with. Like, the theater classes were great. And we have a horsey passing by. Living in Costa Rica be like, Anyways, so I got off track. I was just telling y'all about all my high schools. This is the one I got kicked out of, is ASFA. So again, I was an 11th grader. I was a really good student. I always was a really good student academically. And so because we lived in a dorm, in order for us to go out and buy things, like go to the mall or go to Target or Walmart to get just things that we might need or snacks and things, they did these things called van runs. So we had like this big van and you had to sign up, and every Wednesday and Friday or something we had van runs. So with our RA, like our resident assistant, you know, just like in college, we had RAs who were watching over us or whatever. So yeah, we went on these van runs all the time and everything was cool. And then there was this girl, I can't remember her name right now, but she was my friend. She was this white girl. And one day, like, she came back and she was just in our room talking to me and my roommate because we were just all friends. And she was saying, like, showing us something that she got. And we're like, oh my God, that's so cute. Like, how much was it or something? And she was like, it was free. And I'm like, how was it free? And then she opened my mind to the fact that you could steal things. First person I'd ever had tell me that you could steal things. And of course, like, we were all like, oh my gosh, I can't believe it. Like, and she made it seem so easy and so like chill. And we were kind of like being like, fuck these companies. They have money, you know, like they can stand to lose one or two little items. So from then on, me and my friends were like obsessed. So I think we did it probably like 4 or 5 van runs before we ended up getting in trouble or getting caught. But yeah, we were stealing stuff we didn't even need, just to see if we could, because it was super exciting. Like, there was all this adrenaline and like then having the thing without having to give the money for it. And it wasn't even about saving money. It was genuinely for the fun of it and because it seemed cool at the time. And it started with just her, and then a bunch of us were doing it. It was like maybe 4 or 5 people who were doing it. Might have been others too that didn't get caught, but we just gonna talk about this. So there was one day we went to Target. I'll never forget this Target. And, you know, I took some headbands, a shirt. I don't know what else. I vividly remember having taken like a shirt, and I think that's where they caught me because it's big as fuck. And I stole some stuff. And as I was walking, and I still bought some stuff. And as I was walking out the door, this man came out of one of those little side doors that's like between the 2 sliding doors. Like the door, you're like, where does that go? It's a fucking security office. He slid out of there. And he was like, excuse me, ma'am, I need to talk to you about the merchandise in your bag. And I was like, oh, God. He didn't catch nobody else who was with me. It was 2 black girls, 2 white girls. He did not see them on the camera, but he saw me. So, yeah, he took me to the office. I explained to him that I was a high school student, that I was there on a van run, and that I had an RA. I wasn't with a parent or whatever. And took me into the room, went through my bag, took all the stuff, laid it out, took pictures of it, and explained that because it was more than $20 worth of merchandise, they had to call the police. So then the police came. It's so funny because the police officer, he was a country boy too, but he was so nice. Like, to this day, I'm so grateful that he was the police officer I had to deal with. He was this big, fat white man, like with a real country accent, because this is all in Birmingham, Alabama. And he knew about our school, Alabama School of Fine Arts, and he was like, oh, you go to that school? Like, I'm so grateful for that school, bringing the arts into our community. Y'all do so many great things. Like, you seem like a nice girl. You know, you don't need to be stealing stuff. And because I was super chill, and I did get handcuffed. I was sitting there in handcuffs. But I was super chill and kind, and just like, honestly, we were just doing it. Like, people taught me about stealing before, and I just wanted to do it to not spend the money. And I felt like I wasn't doing any harm. And I was just real honest, and they just explained to me why it's not okay to steal. And they're like, was anybody else stealing with you? And I'm like, I don't know. I don't want to talk about anybody else, just me, because I didn't want to involve my other friends. But our RA, the guy who took us there, who drove the van, of course, he found out. He's all upset, and he goes to the van with everybody, like, this is what's happening with Deja. Who else stole? Blah, blah, blah. And then they just fessed up. They confessed to also stealing, and they gave back the stuff that they stole. And I felt bad for that, because they could have gotten by without anyone knowing if they just held on to that. But at the same time, it's like it was important for them to be transparent and honest in that moment. So I get it. Hey y'all, I forgot to mention in this part of the video that the reason that I was released and I didn't get taken to jail was because I was only 17. I was a minor, And legally in the state of Alabama, they cannot take a minor to jail unless their parents are in the state. And my mom was in Wisconsin and my dad was in Georgia. So they released me to the custody of, like, you know, my RA, who's not even my legal guardian. And they sent me like a court date, but I had moved to Georgia, which I'm about to explain, and they dropped the charges at that point. Oh, and you know, when I got back, Mr. J went off. Oh, that man went off on me. Yeah, fuck him. Because he already hated me so much, so he was so excited to have a reason to hate me more. So yeah, he was mad as shit. He went off. He yelled at me a lot. I don't even remember what he said, but I just remember he yelled a lot. And he yelled a lot at me all the time, but this was like the biggest time. Like, he was there waiting. Like, if he could hit me, he would have. So fuck him. Because at the end of the day, like, it's a victimless crime. We can still, of course, talk about, hey, like, why stealing is wrong. But yeah, there's just a different way to deal with it. Anyways, we were in trouble. They didn't know what to do with us. They were basically like, y'all can't go to school. It was 4 of us, like I said, 2 black girls, 2 white girls. They said, you cannot go to school until we do a tribunal court. So they put us as teenagers, like 16-year-olds, in court to decide what our punishment would be. And for our court, we had like the principal and vice principal, the counselor, and our department head. So for me, it was the leader of the theater department. And for one of the other girls was also, or 2 of them were theater, and I can't remember, one girl was music. So yeah, so we had like our judgment panel, and my mom had to fly in. Of course, I'm also getting yelled at by my mom. I'm also getting yelled at by my dad. Like, I'm getting it from every angle. And in this court, like, each of us went separately. They chose to kick 2 of us out and keep 2. So they kicked out a black and white girl, and they kept a black and white girl. They just wanted to balance it. I honestly believe we should have gotten the same punishment, but it doesn't matter because I didn't need to be at that school anyway. And again, it ended up being good for me. So we got kicked out of school. Like, this happened through the dorm, but they kicked us out of school completely. Like, you can no longer go to this school. But they kind of did it in a nice way. Like, it was about April. I won't ever forget this. The day we got kicked out was April 8th. What year was that? I think 2013. April 8th, 2013. They kicked us out. Me and my very good friend Sarah. And I was an emotional wreck. You know, I had never been through anything like that. I had never really been in trouble at school at all. And keep in mind, the girl who initially taught me how to steal was not caught and graduated from that school. But of course, we didn't throw her under the bus. We just, you know, talked about what we did. So I got kicked out over stealing in Target. So I stole in Target, and I got kicked out of my high school for that because they basically said we brought shame to the school. I had only been there for 1 year, so they didn't have like too much love for me or care about me anyway. So they kicked me out, but they basically let me finish the 11th grade. So it was April, school ends in May, like the end of May. So they basically, it was right before finals. So I didn't have to take any finals, and they were like, you're done with the 11th grade. Like, we're passing you, but you cannot come back here and you have to move out of the dorm. So I had to leave. And my dad came and got me because he lives in Atlanta, Georgia, and that was the closest to Alabama at the time. And my mom didn't want to deal with me. She didn't want to bring me back to Wisconsin. I didn't want to go there anyway. So yeah, my dad came and got me, grounded me for like a month where I wasn't allowed to leave the house. I just stayed in the house. And during that time, you know, I dealt with a lot of depression, self-harm. I tried to smoke cigarettes for the first time. Not tried, like I smoked through a whole pack of cigarettes over a period of time. And I'm actually allergic to tobacco. It's a horrible decision, but I was depressed. My whole mood and energy and aura was all fucked up at that time, and I wasn't doing well. So yeah, then it was summer. So after that month of being grounded by my dad, you know, I was free. I was hanging out in Atlanta. I had friends with cars. I was always going out, you know, living my best life. Started dating this guy. He had a car and he had an apartment because he was 1 year older than me. I was 17, and so he was like 18 or 19. Maybe he was 2 years older than me. I can't remember. Okay. So I moved to Atlanta. It was the middle of the summer. All was well in my world. We were trying to figure out what to do because now I was meant to be a senior in high school. And I lived like literally 5 minutes away from a school called South Gwinnett in Gwinnett County, Georgia, which is outside of Atlanta, but close enough for people from Gwinnett to be like, I'm from Atlanta. But not like we're right outside of it. And I was open to go into that school. I had a friend who went there and I was like, cool, I'm gonna go there. But because I had gone to such an array of different high schools and I had taken all these different classes, the North and the South are different with their requirements. So when the school like checked my transcripts and like the credits I had, they were like, oh, you only need 2 more classes for us to consider you a graduate. And my mom was like, so what are we gonna do? And they're like, they could put me in those 2 classes the first semester, and then the second semester I was just gonna be taking electives that don't really like count for anything, but like basically I could just be in art class and all that stuff. And I was okay with that, but my mom was like, that's a waste of your time. You're not about to do that. So instead she found, or maybe it was more than 2. I think it was 4 classes. So what my mom found this homeschooling program where it's like, not like your parents are teaching you, but there's like it's really just a house with these 2 fat white ladies in there. No offense to anybody, like it's all love. I love these ladies. I'm just giving y'all a description. But I remember like it's just a little white house and you go in and there's these 2 big ladies at these desks and they just got hella paperwork and stuff. And what they do is they give you a packet, like a bunch of papers, and that's your class. And you're meant to work through it within a month. And you can come in there, and they had a couple of desks, and you can come in there for tutoring or for help if you're having struggles. But I didn't ever go in there. I got my packet, and I just worked on it. And I took 2 classes through them. I remember I took a math class, and I don't remember what the other one was. I just know for sure one was math, and it was my first time trying to do that by myself. And again, I had friends with cars, so I would be going out, hanging out, and then my dad would just be like, did you do some of your work today? And I was like, yeah, I did a little bit today. And then he'd be like, okay, you can go. So it was super chill. I was not doing much work at all. I had so much freedom. I was in the streets. I was for the streets. But yeah, it was really fun actually. And then I still had 2 more classes to take. And I don't remember why this occurred, but my mom found this alternative school called Phoenix High School, also in Gwinnett County, Georgia. And basically they let you graduate they have December and May graduations, because this is the type of school where like people who are pregnant or have a bunch of kids go, or people who didn't finish high school, they come back and they go, or like people who've had behavioral problems or been kicked out of school like me, they go to this alternative school. So I went there and I just had to take a couple of classes there. So it was just 1 semester. And I didn't even start I think I started like September. So it was just September, or maybe I started October. It was like October, November, and December. I remember only being there for a few months. This is the type of school, it didn't even have a cafeteria. You had to leave for lunch. But I did super well because, again, like I had gone to all of these like academically challenging schools, and this one was honestly not that academically challenging, and I was very, very smart. I remember I really loved my English teacher. To this day, we're friends on Facebook, and I sometimes message her. And yeah, I learned a lot in her class, and then I had a chemistry class that was trash. But yeah, I took these classes. I only went to school for a couple of hours in the day, and I had a car at the time, so I would show up to school, do my 1 or 2 classes or whatever my schedule was for the day, and then I would go home. Like, my life was so relaxed. And during this time, I also decided, like, I was applying for colleges and all this stuff because I knew I was about to graduate in December. So I had applied for like Georgia State, Mercer, Georgia Southern, I think UGA, all the main Georgia schools that people be applying for. I got into Georgia State and Mercer and Georgia Southern. I didn't get into UGA. I get it. I didn't want to go there anyway. My sister goes there though, so big up UGA. So yeah, I got into Georgia Southern's writing program. I specifically chose it because they have an actual creative writing major rather than an English major, and that was what I was interested in, was writing. So in the end, I went to Georgia Southern. From Georgia Southern, like I've said in my other stories of how I ended up in Costa Rica, that all happened because of like doing study abroad at Georgia Southern. So all of this is a roundabout way of saying that because I got kicked out of that school, it led to this unfolding of events that actually made my life so much better. I had so much more freedom. I was able to get to know myself. I was able to just spend some time in Georgia, which I hadn't since, ninth grade when I went to DSA. And yeah, reconnected with a lot of people from DSA during that time as well. And then I went to Georgia Southern, and me going to Georgia Southern is what led to me ending up here in Costa Rica. So I'm super grateful that I stole from motherfucking Target in 2013, because if I hadn't done that, maybe I would not be here. So yes, life happens, things happen. Don't be too hard on yourself when things go a way that you weren't expecting, because spirit is the true guide, and spirit sees the big, big, big picture. Even me being here now, I know is bigger than just here and now, It's also helping the unfolding of so much more that I can't even see, that I'm eager for and grateful for already. So that's my story of the day. Story time with Deja is complete. If you have any questions about this story, please comment below. If you have any similar stories, I would love to hear them. And have a beautiful day. Pura vida. And yeah.